On today's Hunt Harvest Health podcast, Ryan talks with his cousin, best friend, business partner, and hunting partner, Joey Pyburn. Since they were young children, Ryan and Joey have lived the outdoor lifestyle to the fullest. Fishing, hunting, hiking, anything that allowed them to be outside in the great outdoors. Today, they garden, create recipes, and run a business together. And when they aren't doing that, you'll find them in the backcountry. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you want to learn more about Joey, you can follow him on Instagram at Joey Pyburn.
Okay, so welcome to today's podcast. Today, I have tracked down my hunting partner, Joe Pyburn, sitting in his house. Got a bunch of antlers on the wall. We got cougar pelt on one side, elk racks, deer racks. It's a pretty good place to be. So what I thought we'd do today is kind of introduce my lifelong hunting partner. We've kind of grown up together. We're actually cousins. More like brothers, I'd say, because we've just been so close for so many years. But I really wanted to get him on this podcast. He's just a great hunter. We've done so much together. I figured we'd just tell some stories and kind of talk about our lifestyle and how we've grown up and what all the things that we've done together and where we are today versus where we are back then when we started this whole thing. And, so Joe, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. So, I'm Ryan's cousin. Like you said, we grew up together. I can remember back, being little tiny kids and going to Ryan's house, and his dad was a big fisherman, a hunter. And, I just knew right away that was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to fish. I wanted to hunt. I loved the idea of catching something and bringing it home. And it's just kind of been a passion for me, throughout my whole life.
Joe fit right into my family. Obviously, we come from, we're a bunch of hunters and fishermen down the line, and at a young age, Joe and I growing up, I mean, shoot, we've been doing this since we got our first guns together. I think we got BB guns back in I don't know how old we were.
1980, I believe. I think I was 5 and you were 6, and we went up to a cabin on the Nooksack River here in Washington. No power, and with the whole family, we went up there for Christmas.
That was a nasty Christmas we had there weather-wise.
Yeah, it was awesome though. We got our BB guns, first guns, Christmas morning, and the folks just kind of turned us loose in the woods, next to a raging river.
It was flooding.
I can't imagine that happens a lot nowadays. But we took off, and that was kind of it, man. From that point on, that was it for me. I'd get home from school, that BB gun was in my hands, and I was out the door.
Yeah.
And,
we that's what they did back then, right? We unwrapped those BB guns, gave us a couple of those little packets of BBs.
Looked like a shotgun shell.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, go have some fun. Get out of our hair. Turned us loose.
And that was perfect for us because Ryan and I, he was a little older. I kind of looked at him like an older brother, and I trusted him completely.
Yeah, but what was crazy about that is you got the better BB gun.
I did. I got a way better one. You got a Red Ryder.
I had the 1 pump. You had like the 10 pump.
Yeah, I could kill some stuff with mine.
Yeah.
You had to shoot stuff for a while.
I did. I had to arc mine over things. So, being the older one, I figured I would have got the better BB gun, but that didn't happen.
We would just take off, man, and head into the woods at 5 and 6 years old, and I just follow Ryan around, and, we learned a lot without any parental guidance.
Yeah, I mean, we learned so many things you just forget about, just getting through the woods and making your way through and getting to a spot and coming back and, getting back before dark and all that kind of thing. And it's just something that I don't think kids do today.
How how'd we do that without a GPS?
I have no idea. I get lost without my GPS.
I do too, man. I'm looking at that thing all the time. I don't know where I'm at.
But yeah, that Christmas was brutal. We ended up getting stuck. We had to.
Well, the river flooded.
Yep, river flooded. We had to try to get out of there before we got flooded. We had to drive across the.
They had to bring a canoe. They had to bring a canoe in and canoe us out of there, and then we went to some people's cabin and kind of hunkered down there until we could get out of there.
Yeah, kind of finished off our Christmas there.
Yeah, I don't even remember the next Christmas or the next one or the next one, but I remember that one.
Well, there was guns involved. So yeah, I mean, we've grown up. We've done a ton of stuff. Going from that stage all the way. We lived pretty far apart. You lived down by the beach on Whidbey Island. I lived up Monroe, Snohomish, a variety of places. So if we were up at my place, we'd go out traipsing through down towards Panther Lake and, try to shoot coyotes and do this and that. And if we were down at your place, we were going hunting rabbits and going down to the beach where there's rabbits everywhere. So
we quickly graduated from BB guns to 22 rifles at a very young age.
Yeah, dude, we were walking down highways and every road imaginable, just carrying guns.
Yep. Nobody blinks an eye.
No, they weren't calling the cops, and it was just kind of what people did back then. You're just walking out and heading into the woods or heading to the beach or whatever.
It was a better time, I think.
It was a better time for sure. So yeah, but Joe and I, we used to, especially when I got my license, we used to just hop in the truck. I had an old, what was that, 85 Toyota 4x4, and we'd just hop in that thing and head east as soon as we could. We'd go on big hikes and bonsai trips and go chase an elk and, I don't know how many trips we made over into the Clockham and over by Wenatchee and Owensburg, just over there just to look at elk. I mean, I remember we tried to get in as close as we could and just taking pictures with those Kodak, remember those paper cameras?
Yeah.
That's
disposables.
Disposables. Yeah. That's what I remember walking around and try to get in as tight as you could. Try to take pictures with those ridiculous cameras.
Way before we ever actually hunted for elk, we would just go over there and we would hike around in the sagebrush, and I probably didn't even have binoculars, but we just tried to get as close to the elk as we could.
We'd see yellow patches and we'd just go for it and try to get in close.
Man, that was fun stuff.
Yeah. So many trips, way before we were actually hunting big game or whatever. We did a lot of bird hunting back then, but shoot.
That Clockham area, there's a house there, and that house is for the game warden for that area. And I don't remember his name, but he was a cool old timer. And we'd go to his house every time before we went back there and just kind of talk to him about what was happening back there, what he was seeing for critters.
Yeah, how the birds doing.
He was always shocked that we were heading in there, Yeah,
it was like we're the only ones going over there. It's like there's just empty of people. Nobody back there but us all the time.
So we would show up in the driveway, and sometimes he was out in his shop, and we'd go, track him down. And eventually he gave us a nickname. He would be like, "Oh, it's the Gung Ho Boys."
Yeah, the Gung Ho Boys. That's right. Yeah, cool old guy. But we had a ton of fun bouncing around and beating up the old pickup back there. And I don't know how we didn't get stranded back there at some point, but because it's just a nasty. We'd go 2-3 hours of just bouncing down the worst nightmare roads you can imagine, and just to get back there to look at some elk and then drive on out. But what a blast! It's a good way to grow up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean that kind of led to. Well, we always liked the adventure part. I think when I graduated from high school, we packed up your truck and we left and went to Montana for 2 weeks.
Well, river runs through it. Runs through it, came out, and like everybody else, we're like, well, we got to go get a creel. Yeah. Like a wicker, whatever, basket to throw our fish in. Right. Take our fly rods and head to Montana. So that's what we did. And we went over, ended up around Wolf Creek, Montana. We went and fished, like, I think it was Park Lake out of Helena. Railing.
Yep.
and just tore up the rainbows on the Missouri.
And the browns.
And the browns, yep. Caught a ton on prickly pear.
Walking that, fishing. We actually were fishing a float with a night crawler under it. And,
man, we were totally cheating back then. It was no contest.
Well, we weren't really great fly fishermen at that point.
No. We had fly rods.
We did.
They were tipped with worms.
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah, so, it was, shoot, I think we hit the Boulder, we hit the Missouri, Clark Fork, all those good rivers, and just tore up those giant rainbows. And we took our rafts over, and we just drop one guy in, and he'd float it all the way down to Missouri, and wherever there's a pickup, I'd go, grab Joe, toss the raft back in, and do the same thing again, and just over and over.
We should do that again. We should take Paley and Tana over there at some point and kind of do somewhat of a similar trip to that. Because, Montana, you can just kind of get lost over there, and there's so much to do, and there's so much wild country. Yeah. It's pretty, it leaves a mark on your
We were like in awe just because, we're seeing all these bighorn sheep, just, we're
deer,
16
elk,
years old. And we don't see that in Washington. So we're just like, deer, elk everywhere, bighorns along the roads, and just fishing now is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I know they probably got a few more rules. So they do have a few more rules. I don't think we'd be tipping our fly rods with worms at this point. But
I think that whole 2 weeks we never saw a game warden.
No.
Or if we did, they never talked to us.
No, it was a wild place. And, didn't see a whole lot of people at all.
Yeah.
Not even that many fishermen, a couple, up by the dams, but that was about it. So, it was good living.
We spent most of our younger years, pretty focused on fishing. That was a big thing for us. We loved to trout fish. We were big into, Ryan liked to find, some pond that didn't have a trail to it, some little pothole in the mountains, and he'd be like, we got to go find that. And you remember Drunken Charlie?
Oh, yeah. Spot a lake on the map.
How many times did we try to find that thing?
No. It took us a while. It's just had a cool name.
Yeah,
it was
Drunken Charlie.
No way to get to it, except we finally figured it out. So, there's so many potholes on a map. You just put your finger on and say, let's try to get to that one. And, eventually there's generally a trail somewhere. It may not be on the map, but,
But sometimes there's nothing.
Go trail in some way, somehow, but we'd get in there. And that's kind of what our focus was back then. Like I said before, we did a ton of bird hunting. We chased chuckers and pheasant and quail, and did a lot of that. I think you did a lot more waterfowl than I did. I was more into the upland stuff. And I think you chased a lot more ducks and geese, but shoot, that kind of the fishing thing, that was what we got bit with the fishing bug pretty hard back then. I mean, I went, taking some college classes and opportunity came up for me to start guiding in Alaska, and, got offered a job by somebody here that had kind of known me, just from steelhead and around here, because we were steelhead junkies. That's what we lived for.
When we were little kids, we were, going up to the river and limiting out around all these men and walking out with our 2 steelhead. And, we got pretty good at it. Right.
Oh yeah.
Made a name for ourselves, and Ryan got offered a job in Alaska, and he went, and I stayed here and, worked for the company.
And man, what a blast that was. That was, spent 5 seasons up there, most of it around the Bristol Bay watershed, up in the Katmai region, the Alagnak region. And man, what a blast. I mean, we saw some of the coolest country around. We did flyouts to these amazing places, caught a lot of rainbows, a lot of kings. The best part about that river is it was just, so much variety. You could go down and
cast tidewater.
You could fish tidewater with blades or cheaters, boondogging or backing down plugs and blades, or shoot. Then you could go hit a little backwater slough and strip a mouse across the top or pike.
Yep.
Or go upriver and catch, char and rainbows. Just incredible.
Well, I remember the first year you were up there, you came home. I think that year your grandfather died. You came home for the funeral, and I remember we were at the farm, and you were like, you got to go. You got to come up there.
Yeah.
So the next year I went, and that was a great experience. We both kind of flourished in that environment because we loved to fish. I mean, it was like, we're up early on the water, excited every day to get on the water with our clients.
And it was cool in a lot of ways because, like you said, we love to fish. The fishing was awesome. I mean, compared to what we deal with in Washington, we got to work our tail off to get steelhead. Up there, it just came kind of easy. It's fishing, it's fishing where there's just a whole lot more fish, way easier to do it. And the salmon was just unbelievable. So we picked all that up really fast. And then, opportunities just came out when we were doing that. We got offered to go to Russia. And so went over and did that and, got offered to go to another place down on the Illusion chain and fish steelhead or fished kings down there and a few steelhead down there too. Just phenomenal fishing. Brought us some of the most cool places you'll ever be. Just up and down rivers all day long. And then you can just go hiking and hike the beach and look for those glass balls that,
when fishing sucked, like over on the Kamchatkas, you'd fish rainbows on the west side and steelhead on the east side of the peninsula.
Other way.
West. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. East side rainbows, west side steelhead. And the steelhead fishing, it was later in the fall. The rivers would blow out occasionally. And then you just couldn't fish. So you could bomb down river all the way to the ocean and then just hike the river. And you'd find agates the size of baseballs and those glass balls. And man, I think probably my clients had more fun doing that.
Beach combing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. At least like one day a week, just go do some beach combing and just show them something a little bit different. I mean, how many steelhead do you want to catch?
Yeah.
But, that was all fly fishing and just incredible that you can't really get. It was one of those places where, we were offered to go over there right when, basically. Well,
you
first folks were.
You went on an exploratory trip.
We just got to go over there and set up shop and see what the opportunity was to bring clients over. And so, we'd fly around in helicopters and pick out rivers and say, that looks fishable. We could probably put a little tent camp up there. And so, we'd float these places and kind of figure them out and name these waters. And it's just great opportunity to learn a whole lot of new country and see it for the very first time. Most people can't get out there. They can't afford to rent a helicopter and just get out and check out these places. And really the only folks that had ever seen these waters on that Kamchatka were, kind of the locals that were they had little villages down at the mouths of some of the rivers, and that was about it.
Yep.
So, so we got to do some years, spent some years doing that. Man, that was one of the highlights of my probably early 20s right there.
Sure. I mean, definitely, and you do kind of get burnt out on it because we're leaving for, 4 months at a time and not really seeing our families.
Yeah. I think I got more burnout on just the clients. I love being up. I think it would have been a different story if it was just, us up there fun fishing and just going to do whatever. But we were doing a little bit of babysitting for some folks. So,
but, we both kind of stepped away from that and came back. And,
I had met my wife up there. So I'd met her the first year I was in Alaska somehow, some way. And so, who knows? If I wouldn't have met her, I'd probably still be guiding up there. I don't know. I'd be some crotchety old guide. But, that was definitely a good time. And we both got to enjoy and see it and be a big part of it. It was a big part of our early 20s for sure. So
I mean, those are things that those are experiences that you'll never forget. We both got to do a moose hunt when we were up there. Got to not necessarily guide a moose hunt, but we were fishing guides and we had probably the most hunting experience at the lodge. So 1 year Ryan did it, and then the next year I got to do it. And it was awesome, man. So cool.
Yeah. We had all the big wigs coming up and chasing caribou and moose and Gary Loomis and all those boys. So yeah, it was a blast. But that was kind of I would say that's kind of when we really started getting into big game hunting after we were doing a lot of hunting obviously for deer and stuff. Yep. But
it ate up a ton of our time. We wouldn't get home until mid-October sometimes from Alaska. So we would miss September.
Yep.
And maybe back then we didn't really realize how important it was to be here in September.
Well, we chased things with rifles, so it still put us back in time for general deer season. But then we were forced to hunt, the second half of October and then into November. So the weather wasn't nearly as nice, and we didn't have a bow in our hand back then. So, but that's what kind of, that's just been our relationship the whole time is a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing. And, that's where we are. We've kind of progressed a little bit from those days to where we are today. And now we're a lot more focused on the hunting than we are the fishing. Our business is in the fishing realm, but, we want to take our time off. We're definitely chasing critters and pretty much all year round thinking about critters and what we're going to do to get more critters and get more hunts in and figure them out better. And, it's kind of just a lifestyle we've led. So, and this year, we got to do a couple hunts. We don't get to do as many as we used to. We used to hunt together a lot. We used to we were going hunting as you and me going hunting.
Yeah.
But these days, for quite a while now, actually quite a few years, we've done a lot more solo stuff. Especially me. I think I've done a lot more solo than I have with a hunting partner for quite a few years now.
Yeah, well, you deal with it way better than I do. I like to solo, but I don't quite enjoy it as much. It's different. I like the getting back to camp and kind of being able to go through the day's events and kind of brainstorm on, what we should do the next day. I like that interaction. It just kind of, keeps me motivated to know I'm going to go back there and we're going to be able to sit down and talk about what's going to happen tomorrow. And, when you're totally focused on what you're doing back there and you have somebody else who's also totally focused, man, you can really pick things apart and figure stuff out and make good decisions. It really helps me to make good decisions back there. When I'm by myself, a lot of times I rush a little bit, and I like that, company back there.
Yeah, you're definitely more of a social butterfly than I am. I'm more of an introvert by a lot. I'm definitely introverted. So I just like I like it both ways. I like, when you and me go back, obviously we can tackle a mountain and figure it out really fast.
Yeah.
We split up, we go our separate ways, and by the end of the day, when we come back and talk to camp, we know exactly what's on that mountain. Maybe I didn't see something on my side, but you had a completely different experience on your side.
Yeah.
So it could totally change my view of that area.
Yeah.
Just coming back and figuring out what you saw. Maybe I saw one buck and you saw 5 or 6.
I think it's a huge benefit to, I tell young guys all the time, get yourself a solid dude, man. Like a guy who you can count on, not to, wuss out 5 days into the hunt and want to run off the mountain and go home to his girlfriend. Get a guy who can hang, and you can really get some stuff done, because if you have that, I
think I've heard more horror stories these days with these younger guys getting into it, hooking up with a guy who can't cut it in the mountains, and it just wrecks everybody's experience. I don't know what it is, but I think there's unfortunately there's a lot of that these days. You really got to be selective with who you're going.
Well, I think that a lot of that is, well, for one, there's a lot of guys getting into it who are just getting into it, I think, which is great. I love it, man. I love talking to young guys who are getting into it and excited about it. But man, if you're going at it alone right out of the gate, it can be, I can imagine it can be very frustrating because you're going to spend a lot of days in the backcountry where you're just like defeated.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have somebody there to kind of push you along, I bet it can be pretty tough. You know I go in the backcountry by myself quite a bit now because, Ryan and I are putting in different states and getting drawn for different things. And, if I get drawn for a hunt, he's going to back me up here at work so I can go get my hunt in. And, I go do it, but I definitely don't, it's not my favorite thing to do. If there's plenty of critters and I'm having action, then I'm good. But those times when it starts to be a suck fest, it gets tough, man, when you don't have somebody there to bounce stuff off of, right?
Yeah. The mental game is it's tough. It can be really brutal for
well, you wouldn't know.
Not me, but
you just go back there and I don't know what you do. I think in my head, I picture you just like hunting all day till dark, and then you go back to your tent and you just sit there like in the dark eating, and then you fall asleep like a baby every time.
Yeah.
Just as soon as your head's down, you're out.
I'm lucky. Yeah, I don't have trouble falling asleep. I hunt all day and I come back and even if you and I are together, we'll be talking. I'm out.
Oh yeah,
I don't have to pop any Tylenol PM or anything like that. I'm just out.
No, and I don't. My brain just keeps racing, and I keep thinking about like what I'm going to do tomorrow, and then I get excited, and then I can't sleep a lot of the time.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it. I actually, I'm not going to say I prefer it over hunting with a partner, but I do really enjoy it. There's just something different about it. Going up in there, and I think it maybe I wasn't like this in the early stages. I'll admit, early stages out there by yourself. Way back in 10, 12 miles, whatever, it was, get a little spooky in the early days. You just hadn't experienced enough. You hadn't, kind of
like, what if I slip and, and fall down in this boulder field and you don't have cell service, you have nobody back there, nobody knows where you're at. And that stuff definitely plays on your mind.
And now it's, definitely, you still think about it, but you just had so many experiences that it's just not an issue. I don't not enjoy it when I'm back there by myself.
Yeah.
I actually like it, and I do. I'll go back to I won't go back and have anybody to talk to, but I guess I must talk to myself or something. I don't know. I just relay it through my head, the day's events, and I'm totally content and willing to do that for a lot of days in a row. And I think my mental state is just as good on day 1 as it is on day 10.
I can tell though when Ryan's having a tough hunt, it's bad weather, maybe not seeing a lot of critters, just beating him up, because I'll get a message usually every day or two on the DeLorme, and then I'm like, oh, somebody's reaching out.
Okay. So weather, that gets you. That gets you when you're just drenched. You're going back and you're wet in your camp, and there's just something mentally draining about that. But this year there was a lot of that. I'll admit that we got to go on an elk hunt together where Joe went in and just killed a tank of a bull, big old monster Rosie, and that was not the best weather.
First morning, right away. I chased that bull for a couple hours and finally got him to turn and come.
Just a tank.
And Ryan, like he doesn't want that. He's not looking for a giant bull on the first morning. He likes to have some punishment. He likes, to get wet and cold and beat up.
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly happy. If that bull comes in on opening morning, I'm going to kill him and be happy with it. And so I did. And Ryan was up the valley from me and was able to come down. And
I actually had a nice 6-point come in while you were working your bull. I was kind of sitting in the back.
You passed 2 bulls that morning.
Yeah. The first one was a nice 6 that came in, and I was just not even in mode to kill one that fast. But
I would have shot that bull in a second.
Yeah, I was listening to you go back and forth and playing with that bull and working him until you got him. And lo and behold, I had a pretty nice 6-point come in behind me, and I turned around, there he was. And
you got it on video too.
Yeah. I got my phone out and started taping him, and pretty nice 6, but it was the first day.
Yeah, he came down to where I was. I was kind of just sitting back. My bull had died in the woods down below me, and I was just kind of chilling, waiting for Ryan to get there. And he came down, and we, went over the whole story. And then he showed me the picture or the video of that bull, and I was like, "What? You passed on that? Are you crazy?"
Yeah,
I would have shot that thing in a second.
Yeah, maybe I would have if I didn't know the weather was going to turn so bad, because it got bad. I mean, it was like, luckily you packed a tarp in on that one,
Yeah,
which was kind of handy. It's something we don't always have, and you had one there, and that was definitely a bonus.
Yeah, well, look, if I'm going into the backcountry and there's any sign or chance that it could really get nasty, I buy a big giant tarp, like a 10 by 20 tarp, and I load my pack up, and then I throw it on my back, wiggle it around a little bit, and if it feels like, hey, I want that back there with me, and I feel like it, it's not going to beat me up too much, I'll haul a big old tarp back there, and it just makes for, like, if you're going to be back there for 6 days in the rain, and you have a big tarp like that, you just saved yourself a ton of misery.
Yeah, drying out is way easier at the end of the day. And when it never stops raining and sleeting,
yeah,
coming back and having a little campfire or whatever, and having a place to kind of dry your stuff, hang your stuff, and not just be stuck in your little tent.
It was beautiful. It was a beautiful morning when I called that bull in and killed him, and sunny, nice. And so I got him. Ryan helped me break him down. I got the meat back to camp, and he took off. And then I spent the next 2 or 3 days packing meat, and the weather just got worse and worse, and it started pouring.
Snow line came down.
Yeah. And you spent another 6 days in there.
I had packed way up valley.
Maybe another 6 miles or 7 miles up.
Yeah. And I was wishing I had brought that tarp, because I didn't. I left that back at there, kind of our makeshift base camp. I spiked out, and boy, I was kind of thinking I should have brought that tarp when I was up there, because it was nasty. I mean, it was just sleeting and foggy and nasty, but ended up getting a nice bull on that and well into that hunt, so it worked out. But so we got 2 good hunts in together this year. That one, and then a mule deer hunt, the Washington mule deer hunt that we got in on, and that was again, it was crappy weather, really bad. It was mostly just fog. It wasn't like we were miserable, but it was just frustrating because it was
cold. I mean, it was really cold and snowy and foggy, but man, I dug it. I had a great time on that hunt. I didn't kill anything, but just the different weather conditions we've kind of had back there. The fog is probably the worst. I mean, at least rain, it usually doesn't rain the whole time. Yeah. You get some breaks.
Well, that's frustrating because you got no way to hunt. You
just got to sit there.
When you're up there looking at glass and hillsides and cover country with your eyeballs, boy, you got fog. There's nothing you can do. I mean, when it's top to bottom, sometimes there's a kind of an inversion. There's fog on the top, so you can get below it and cover the lower country, or the other way around. Sometimes it's down below, filling the valley, and you can get up above it. But no, we were socked in good, where we were just basically stuck in our camp and just sitting there and waiting for it to lift.
Well, and we'd get up on the ridge, just hoping for a break. And
Mother Nature's just giving us like these 5-minute windows. It's like, you better look fast, and then it just socks in again. And every time we're thinking, it's going to break, I see a little bit of blue up there, and then back to socked in. You're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs.
But we ended up, just toughing it out and staying back there. And I think on day 6, we'd seen that buck a couple days before, and had some breaks in the fog, and kind of had an idea that he was a decent buck, but he was a long ways off. And we finally got in on him on the last day.
We ended up having to come off the top, get way down below. The snow had gotten really deep. When we went in, there was, I think 15 inches before we got in there. And then while we were there, the fog kind of limited where we could where we could see, and we didn't want to go too far. And then another 15 inches dumped on us while we were kind of waiting out the fog. So we kind of got pinned down in a basin, and then kind of figured out, well, we got to change something here. It's going to kill our hunt. So we were going to pick up and move, and we went down ridge. And ended up getting this little window at some point. I don't remember what day that was. And we started seeing some bucks down in this patch, and they were all over this patch. There were some does down there. They were just like pre-rut, just barely starting to rut. And we got our eyes on a pretty good buck and made a play on him. Well, not that day, but the next day ended up finally dropping way down elevation and got down out of the snow. We had to drop down that far, and then kind of.
Well, that's kind of where those deer were hanging. They were hanging right below the snow line. So, it made more sense to come around the mountain, kind of on that snow line, and come in from the other side, kind of side hill across from that deer. It was, I think we were pretty lucky that they'd moved up the valley out of that patch, and we just happened to be sneaking along the side hill, and Ryan caught movement and a buck we'd seen earlier that we nicknamed Crabby. Kind of a good buck, kind of a cool looking buck.
Yeah, just not. We watched a big old golden eagle dive bombing.
Yeah,
kind of gave his position away.
Yep,
that's what showed him. Yeah, so that's where we first saw him. Dive bombing
on the whole, way over on the other side of the mountain is where we first saw him. But he came running out of that valley with his tongue hanging out, boogieing right by us, and he had no idea we were there. Just ran by, and we're like, what is going on? And kind of had an idea that
got our hopes up, because
that buck was up in there.
Something was up over the knob, because he'd obviously just been, in a rodeo fighting with something. So we were pretty excited to go a little bit further, and we were just getting up to the point of that basin where the snow was going to get pretty deep, and we knew all those bucks were kind of at the low end of that, right on the snow line. So kind of getting that good feeling like, well, it's going to happen here real quick. And sure enough, that's when caught some movement and saw that big old thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, ended up being a really nice buck. Put a stock on him. We lost him for a little while. You ended up relocating him on the side hill across from us, and he was 300 yards over there, and ended up, man, what a goofy position shot I was in.
Yeah, well, we were on the side hill. He was across on the other side, and it was pretty steep. So Ryan laid down, and he was almost like feet uphill, and he had like a little root wad. A little tree had fallen over, and he was on the root wad.
I had a great rest. If the hill would have been different, we would have been on the other side of the hill, and we pinned down. We couldn't move, and I got my gun up and had a rock solid rest. But just the position of the hill that we were on, I knew it was going to hurt.
Yeah, you said it 3 times. You're like, man, this is going to hurt. I was just looking at the buck up on the hill.
Yeah.
And he'd actually bedded down, because he'd been fighting and chasing those does. The does were looking right down at us, and he's just bedded on the hill, and Brian sets up on him, and he'd look over at me, and he's like, man, this is going to hurt. And I'm just looking, I'm like, shoot him.
I couldn't get the stock in my shoulder right, just because of the funky angle, and it was way too close to my face on my scope.
Yeah, the scope was about a quarter inch away from his head.
But it was the only shot I had, so I let Joe know what was about to happen. Yeah. And sure enough, man, I took the shot, drilled that buck, just rolled him down the hill.
You bled more than he did.
I think so. Yeah. Didn't see much blood up there, but it was sure pouring off my forehead.
Yeah.
But well worth it. I think that's the second time I've ever scoped myself. And the first time I was, I don't know how young I was. Probably just beginning. But just a weird angle. I've never thought I'd scope myself again, but I sure did it this year.
Yeah. Well, I think we hunted twice together this year, and it'd probably been like 2 or 3 years before we haven't been on a hunt.
No, I've gotten a lot more into the archery hunting, so I typically do that. Now this year, my time was really sucked up by some good draws. I got to go down to Nevada and Idaho and all these other places, and I've just been chasing muleys, the high country early in September here in Washington for a long time. So we haven't done a rifle hunt. So this is kind of like going back to old school, what we used to do. And here in Washington, you get a multi-season tag, and what that allows you to do is chase bucks in September with your bow. And if that doesn't happen to work out, you can go right into muzzleloader season on October 1st. And if that doesn't work out, go right into rifle season. So it's pretty cool, especially if you just draw tags and you don't have any opportunity to go chase them with a bow early, which is what happened to me this year. And so, yeah, man, I was looking forward to this when we were able to set it up and go in there together and go after a nice buck with a rifle, which is, yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah,
definitely. So, but yeah, so that's kind of, growing up, we've done a whole lot of hunts, and now we're getting old, and I don't know, now we're more into, we got this weird thing going with food.
Yeah,
I gotta say,
we love food.
Obviously, with our podcast, me and my wife, we talk a lot about food. But Joe and I think we used to send photos of dead fish and dead critters. Now it seems like we get a lot more pics. Like I'll get a pic of Joe's, whatever kind of fancy healthy pizza he made, which he sent me one the other day of his cauliflower crust pizza.
Yeah, which
I just made last night. It was awesome. But we both have big gardens now, so we're super health conscious and
pictures of tomatoes and peppers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's got a bigger tomato growing and all this kind of weird stuff. So yeah, the older we get a lot more into our food, and now we're just kind of food snobs, and yeah, just I think we do way more cooking than our wives do.
Well, I mean, when you have a freezer full of this amazing elk and deer and bear and all these critters, it's hard not to really get into cooking. I love it, man. It's probably one of my favorite things.
Yeah, we experiment with it and just kind of come up with all kinds of new dishes and healthy ways to cook it, and what we can add to it. And it's just fun. I don't know what it is, but it's really addicting.
Yeah, I mean, and we like eating all kinds of stuff too. Obviously always the heart comes out.
Oh yeah,
I'm a big fan of the nuts.
Yeah,
elk nuts are delicious.
Yeah,
Stephen Ranella, Meat Eater. I watched Meat Eater and he was talking about it, and I was like, man, there's got to be something to it, because that guy, there's never anything on that show that I don't like. So I think 2014 was I killed a bull here in Washington, and I brought the nuts out, and I remember I was in the kitchen cutting them up, and my wife walked in, and she was just standing there looking at me, and she goes, "You're disgusting." And I was like, whatever, I just want to try it. And I started cooking those things up, and I'm not kidding. It was like a half an hour. I'm in there munching on these things, and she comes in and goes, "That smells delicious." And I was like, "Just try it." And she tried a little piece, and then she's gobbling them down. And she doesn't like me to tell people that, but she likes them. They're delicious.
Yeah. I as well. I got Hillary to eat like a little sliver of one time, but she won't go near him now.
Yeah, I think it's a principle thing for the ladies. They're like, I'm not
something weird about it.
I'm not putting those in my mouth.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we like those weird pieces of meat, those weird bits. Tongue is delicious.
Oh man,
I can't even imagine not eating the tongue these days. It's one of the best parts. But yeah, definitely the heart. By far, two of my favorite pieces, which a lot of people just leave out there. I can't believe it, the heart and the tongue.
Well, when you work it's hard, going in the backcountry and being successful and killing a critter. It's hard work, man. So you should take everything you can and at least try it. Maybe somebody's like, "Oh, I tried it and I don't like that." Well, that's fine, but at least try it. Eat as much of that critter as you can.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. So these days, it's a lot more about our off season is more about prepping food and just playing with the food that we got in our freezer and different cuts. And, what can we do with all the spaghetti sauce that we put up this summer? And that, of course, there's so many things you can do with it, from, making our own dehydrated meals for backpacking here in the summer and scouting and hunting and all that, to, this time of year, it's like making cauliflower crust pizzas, which sounds disgusting, but I got to say, my daughter ate most of that pizza that I made the other night.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
So good. You just wouldn't think cauliflower would make a good crust, but it does. It is something, anybody tries it, either they're not going to know it was cauliflower, or they're just going to think it's good.
Yeah.
I don't see how you wouldn't, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a tasty little treat for sure.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. Well, I think, kind of a brief overview. We're going to have Joe on quite a bit, I think, telling stories. He's a way better storyteller than I am. So we'll have him on. I just kind of wanted to introduce him today and let everybody know what he's about. And definitely he's my hunting partner. So we will have him on in the future, probably, hopefully, quite a bit.
Yeah, anytime, man.
All right. Well, that's a wrap.
All right. Later, guys.
Hey, folks. Thanks for listening to the Hunt Harvest Health podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, leave us a review on iTunes or Stitcher. Any comments, ideas, suggestions, feel free to shoot us an email at lampers@StHealthyHunter.com. That's STH. Or go to our website at huntharvesthealth.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Stealthy Hunter or at Doc Hillary. Feel free to message me as well through Instagram, as I do really enjoy answering any questions related to gear, hunting, food, or you name it. Tag your photos as well if you'd like at Hunt Harvest Health or Get Stealthy, as we'd love to see what you guys are up to. Thanks. See you next time.